At the time, you know, we had just come back from Vietnam, and there was a threat. King David and King Alfred planned because of the blacks, and remember, it was mostly blacks that were fighting in the end in Vietnam. And they feared, at least this is my conjecture, they feared that these soldiers were coming back home with the knowledge of warfare and all the tactics that they learned about the Europeans and warfare were to be used on them. The King Alfred plan was to make sure that they would round up people into concentration camps the way they did with the Japanese, the internment camps, as well as to shut down areas, grids of electricity in the areas where blacks were consolidated. Also to place bombs, most people don't know, to place impediments or areas, or to set up roadblocks, or to cordon off whole communities.
Freeway systems in black areas are designed to really regulate the community. For example, out here in Los Angeles, South Central LA is really surrounded by 4 freeways. It's surrounded by the 10 freeway, the 110, the 405 freeway, and the 105 freeway. During the LA riots in 1992, a lot of people don't know that they actually shut the freeways down, and they were going to start bringing in the National Guard, where they actually did bring in the National Guard. So the black community, they always have freeway systems there because they never know when they need to implement that King Alfred plan, when they need to go in there with military tanks, if there's some racial insurrection, and really suppress the black community. So that's one of the reasons for the freeway systems being directly on top of the black communities around the country.
And every black community in America got expressways that went right through them, destroyed them. If you want to find out where the old black communities used to be, go into the city and find the expressways. There's a direct relationship between having the businesses and being in prison. Go find see how many Asians you can find in American prisons. You ain't gonna be in there. But 51% of your prison will be black because blacks don't have any businesses and industries. There's a direct link. Blacks won't practice group economics. Blacks won't practice group politics. If you don't practice, you're setting yourselves up. I told that 5-story building, you're setting yourself to get wiped out. Understand the nature of race, which is economics. If you build the first floor, it's economic. Build your businesses and your industries. Control business and industry, and put that pools in your money, and hold that money, and practice group economics with it. Arab and Asian money bounces 12 to 13 times what it leaves. Jewish money bounces 18 times. Black folk gotta learn how to practice group economics. Black Americans spend every penny they get outside their own community. Then you take the money and the wealth that you get from that first floor and go to the second floor. The second floor is politics. You then take that money on the first floor and you control your politics. Black folk must quit allowing people to tell them to go out and vote. Vote for what? Nobody's gonna do anything for black folk in politics. Politics is controlled by money, major corporations who got the money. That's what controls politics. If you have no money, you have no say-so, you have no benefits coming. So you take your money and you control, and you take your money from the first floor, you buy every politician on the second floor. And then the politician you can't buy, you rent or lease them to get what you need. Then once you get the second floor under control with your politician, with your money, then you go to the third floor. The third floor then is the police department and the court systems. You take your money from the first floor and your politics on the second floor, and you control the court system and the police departments. Then the fourth floor then is media. You then take the money that you generate off the first floor from business and industries, and you go after radio stations, TV stations, newspapers, and cable systems, so that you can now inform and communicate with your own people. Right now, black folk own and control less than 35 thousandths of 1% of the media in the United States. Out of 12,000 radio stations, black folk own about 75, 80. That's all. You own no cable systems. You don't have a daily newspaper. You have nothing of importance. You got about 1 black TV station. And so you can't communicate with your people, you can't inform your people, you can't do anything. You can have Rush Limbaugh and all the rest of the guys talking about racism all day long and bad-mouthing you, and O'Reilly's. They can call black folk all kind of names all day long. What are you gonna do? You can't respond. You can't even communicate with your own people because you don't have an economic base. 51% of all the prisoners in the United States are black people. You know you only make up 12% of the population. That's no accident. It's because you don't control the economics and the politics. And they're gonna go after the weakest people they can get their hands on to incarcerate them. That's the black folk. And what are you gonna do in response to it when they over incarcerate you? You're gonna go out and have a march or demonstration. We're gonna march. March for what? Who cares? Marching has never changed anything.
The prison industrial complex is not going to work, because you cannot put people in prison that way naturally. It'll last a while. Have your fun. But within 100 years, that's not going to exist. I believe white supremacy was born to die, and everything it does in its ignorant arrogance kills itself. It's meant to die. And what they're doing is they're setting up their own suicide by doing that to other human beings. Some of the most gifted human beings I've met were in prison. Some of the most gifted human beings I've ever met have been in special education. And to think that those young people, male and female, could be educated to cure cancer, to go into outer space, to build things that our community needs, but you'd rather put them in prison because of the color of their skin, what goes around comes around. You shall reap what you sow.